Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Brainbean here again, and today we're going to be taking a look at an updated version of one of my all-time most favorite keyboards and most recommended keyboards here on this channel. In fact, if you've seen either of my top 5 keyboard videos of 2019, then you'll know exactly which keyboard I'm talking about. And I don't even know why I'm giving you all these hints, because the name of the keyboard is in the title of the video in the first place. So let's just take a look at the updated Hexgears Impulse. So starting as always with construction and design, the overall look to the Hexgears Impulse really hasn't changed all that much. It's still made up of an aluminum top plate that curves around the entire top surface of the keyboard, and it has a nice matte black finish to it, so it's not going to be picking up fingerprints or anything like that. On the underside of the keyboard, it is made up of a plastic casing there. Now, I think the overall build quality feels nice and solid. The keyboard's fairly weighty, although not as heavy as some other metal hybrid keyboards out there. On the back side of the keyboard, there is a little bit of Hexgears branding at the top left corner of the board, but it faces away from the keyboard. So unless you take this keyboard somewhere or people are looking at your desk from kind of a weird angle, the branding really isn't very intrusive here, which I always like to see. Now, one thing cosmetically I don't love about this keyboard is that there's a couple of visible screws in the top plate that I would have liked to have seen if they could have hidden those a little bit more internally in the keyboard, because there's a lot of other all metal type construction keyboards out there where you're able to hide those screws a little bit. And it's just kind of like a little visual blemish, I think. Looking at the underside of the keyboard, there are 2 large rubberized pads at the front side of the keyboard, but on the back 2 corners, there aren't any rubberized pads. And I found that when you use the keyboard flat on the desk, it does slide around a little bit depending on how much pressure you put on it. Now, it does have 2-step extendable legs that are rubberized, so if you're like me and you like to have your keyboard at a bit of an angle, you're not going to run into this issue very much. The cable on the Hexgears Impulse is a non-removable braided USB cable, and I would have liked to have seen this one be removable just to fit in with all the other enthusiast-grade features that this keyboard has, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute. The switch types available with the Hexgears Impulse are the Kale Box White switch, which is a clicky switch, and the Kale Box Brown switches, which is a regular tactile switch. There currently isn't a linear option stock on this keyboard, which would have been nice to have all 3 represented just to give people, a little bit more options and get the key switch that they want. But the best part about this keyboard and the newest upgrade to the Impulse is that it's now hot swappable. So really you can go out and pick any type of plate mount Cherry MX compatible switch type that you want and pop it in this keyboard, from Gateron, Kale, Cherry, Halo, Holy Pandas, pretty much anything that you could think of that is compatible with it, you can pop in this board. And I think having hot swappable switches really just elevates the value of any keyboard, especially a keyboard like this, because it's such a beginner-friendly way to get into the mechanical keyboard scene. And being able to swap out switches without buying a whole nother board is really great for people that aren't quite sure what switch type they like the most, and being that that's one of the most important decisions in any mechanical keyboard enthusiast's life, it's really nice to have those options. Another cool thing about Hot Swap is that it gives you the ability to mod the plate mounted stabilizers, because you can pull the switch out, which gives you access to pop out the stabilizers. Now, these are plate mounted Cherry style stabilizers that do not come clipped or lubed from the factory, but again, with them being hot swapped, it's very easy for you to just pop them out and mod them. And even without doing that, these actually sound really good stock. There's not a whole lot of rattle to speak of, and I'm gonna let you guys listen to a quick sound test of the Kale Box White switches in my Hexgears Impulse. Now, visually looking at this keyboard, one of the most stunning aspects of it is the stock PBT pudding style keycaps. Now, these provide a nice ambient underglow around the keycaps thanks to the translucent sidewalls, and just seeing these come stock on the keyboard is another huge value add. I mean, you can pick up HyperX's pudding keycap set for about 20 bucks on Amazon and pop it on just about any standard layout keyboard, but the fact that Hexgears includes their own pudding keycaps on the board stock is just a really nice way to give you some extra value. The font is clean and simple, all the secondary characters are illuminated, and there's really good vibrant shine through across all the characters across the keycaps. Now, having really awesome pudding style keycaps is great, but you really need to have RGB capability to show it all off. And that's exactly what Hexgears does here. There's a ton of really nice, unique style RGB effects baked directly into the keyboard. Now, this keyboard does not use any software to speak of to control the keyboard, so it does limit it a little bit in terms of customizability. It doesn't have something, you know, like a Razer Synapse or a Corsair iQ where you can go in and create all these elaborate, very custom effects. But I think Hexgears does a really good job of giving you some really cool, unique effects, like I said, not stuff that's like your traditional, just boring color waves and color wheels and stuff like that. And while you do have some effects like that, they've also got some really cool, unique animations that I think paired with those PBT keycaps really pop off and make for this just a really cool board to look at. In fact, in some other videos that I've done where I've kind of shown other keyboards here and there, this is one of the most requested keyboards I get in the comments where people say, what is that keyboard? It's the Hexgears Impulse. Now, like you've seen, there's also the cool little RGB light bar that wraps all the way around the keyboard. You can control that independently of the keys as well. There's a bunch of different preset lighting modes for that one that you can change. So you can kind of mix and match how you have the colors set from the keycaps to the LED light bar. Some other additional functionality of the keyboard, it does have a Windows lock mode as well as some basic macro recording functions on the board that you can do. Now, like I've said, this is one of my favorite, most recommended keyboards, and we're gonna get to the price here in just a second, which really is what is the most impressive thing about it. But it's not a perfect keyboard either. There are a couple of things that I don't really love about it or I would like to change. The first one being, I'm just not a huge fan of the visible screws on the top plate. I think it kind of hurts it cosmetically just a little bit. It would have looked a little bit more premium if they could have hidden those a little bit better. The second is just the limited lighting capabilities of the keyboard. Now, I know some people are gonna like that it doesn't have a companion software, which is great because it doesn't bloat up your computer and all that, but it also makes it so that the potential of this keyboard is kind of muted just a little bit. But again, the standard specs are pretty nice. And lastly, just having a non-removable cable is a bit of a bummer for me. I think already having some enthusiast grade features like the hot swappable switches and the putting keycap stock on there, being able to put a nice custom coil cable on there really would have just been the icing on the cake. But I mean, still, for the value of the keyboard, it is quite good. When we look at the hot swappable switches, the fact that you get Kale box switches stock in it anyways, which are nice switches on their own, the putting PBT keycaps, which is a really nice value add, and then of course just the really nice look to the lighting. But here it is. The best part about this keyboard is that it's only $100. Now, I was willing to recommend this keyboard as one of my top picks of last year just on the fact that it didn't have hot swap capability. So for $100, you get all of this with the Hexgears Impulse, which makes it so easy to forgive those minor gripes that I had about the keyboard that I talked about. So if you're somebody who's looking to get into the hobby and you want something that you can tinker around with, maybe mod the stabilizers or swap out switches, or just get a fantastic value full-size keyboard for $100, this is by far the best value on the market right now for a keyboard like this. I mean, hell, even not beginners, this is just a damn good keyboard, and the price is just absolutely absurd. With that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you enjoyed it to show your support. If you're new here on the channel, I'd love to see you subscribe, so I've got a lot more videos like this coming for you in the near future. You can follow me on Twitter at Brainbean Gaming for all of my giveaway announcements. I am giving away a Huntsman mini keyboard in another video that I will link down below if you guys want to check that one out. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe out there, take care of each other, and I will see you in the next one.